Hello everyone, welcome back. So I've got 3 novella reviews I'm going to be doing in this video, and then I'm going to read off the other novellas that I haven't gotten to yet that are either part of the Hawks MC or related to the Hawks MC. So we got a lot to get through, so let's get into it. So the first novella we're going to be reviewing is Outgamed. And this revolves around the story of Roman Power, also known as Gamer, and Nancy Alexander, who is actually Zara's mom. That seems like an odd place to start because her husband has been a part of the stories since the first book. However, in this story, sadly, her husband has passed away and she has been a widow for quite some time. And Gamer has kind of been watching her from afar since she was a widow, really since before she was a widow, but he didn't feel, but obviously it wouldn't have been appropriate for him to make a move on her when she was married, and he didn't want to cause any issues or pain for her by hitting on her after she became a widow. So it's been some time. Her family is beginning to get worried about her, thinking that she may not be living a happy, fulfilled life. And when she was in the middle of a conversation with Zara and Julian and the other girls of what has been termed as the Pussy Posse, which is all of the women who are part of the women who are married to men from the MC, Gamer makes it known that he's very much interested in Nancy. And this is kind of unexpected because Gamer is considerably younger than Nancy. I mean, I think he's the same age as Zara, maybe a little bit older, but not by much. So basically young enough to be her son. There's obviously going to be some friction because nobody, kids never want to think of their widowed parent moving on, but by the same token they also want her to be happy. Talon was very close with Zara's father, so it's kind of difficult for him to move and accept it. There isn't really a whole lot in the way of trigger warnings per se to human trafficking or violence or anything like that. It's just a pretty straightforward story. There's Gamer and Nancy and them developing their relationship because of the age difference, because of the fact that she was a widow who still very much loves her deceased husband, and feelings that she's betraying him by moving forward with another man. So it's definitely more of an emotional story, but it's also more of a sweet story because there isn't a whole lot getting in their way as a couple beyond their own emotions and feelings of insecurity. And even though she does move forward with Gamer to the point where she gets her own property of Jacket, she still very much loves her husband, and that's portrayed in the story as well. When she does decide she's going to be with Gamer, she has a dream that her husband comes to her and says, I'm happy you're moving forward. I want you to have a happy life, and we'll have more time together eventually, just not now. Basically, I want you to be happy, and I'll see you when we meet up again, so to speak. So it's very sweet, it's very kind, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's a quick read. I think it's super fun. I'd give this one a good 3.5 out of 5 stars. So going on with the other novellas from the story, these are all going to be ones that are not novellas including members from the MC, but they are people who are tied to the MC. So we're starting off with the first novella that was actually released, which is Coming Out. Again, it's another male-male romance, and this is the story of Maddie and Julian. Maddie being Zara's younger brother. And it takes place about a year before when Maddie comes and reunites with Zara. But this is the story of Maddie and Julian, like I've already said. And Maddie is on the football team at school, and Julian is hired as a massage therapist for the team members. And he's kind of given a hard time by many of the guys from the team because he is very clearly into men, and they don't appreciate it. Maddie, at this point, knows that he is into men, but he hasn't come out of the closet yet, so to speak. Hence the reason the title is Coming Out. He finds himself drawn to Julian. He's very possessive of him, and he doesn't quite understand it. And Julian is so used to being rejected by men who don't want to be upfront about who they are, which is still an issue in 2020 today for many people. So when Maddie is possessive of him but doesn't necessarily open up about their relationship with other people, first off, he's used to it, but he's also hurt by it. And then over time, as Maddie gets to know Julian, and he learns that behind Julian's facade of extreme happiness, you find out he's very lonely. He was not raised by people who are very accepting of who he is. And there's references to him being assaulted by an uncle when he was younger. And his parents knew about it and allowed it. And his parents have been keeping him in line by threatening to send his younger cousin to that same uncle. So there's a lot of heavy in Julian's life that you don't really realize. You kind of get the feeling, you get the knowledge that there's some backstory there in Blackout when he kind of flipped his shit on Clarinda's sister, but you don't know what it is. So you do find out what it is in this story. Now, in terms of order of storyline, you could start off with Coming Out. However, because the whole review series has been about the Hawks MC, I started out with the actual Hawks MC stories first before going on to the others. So that's the only reason I did it that way. If it hadn't been the countdown for Coyote, then I would have probably started off with Julian and Maddie first and try to keep the stories as in sequential order as possible. And so from there, we also have Out to Find Freedom, which is probably one of the saddest ones pertaining to the novellas. It's the story of, I have my notes, hold on. There it is. So Out to Find Freedom is the story of Emerson Spence and Ryan Warden. Warden, of course, was one of Zara's co-workers at the PI firm that Zara worked for, that was run by Talon's sister, Violet. Emerson went to live with, I think it was her cousin or her aunt. I want to say it's her cousin. I could be wrong, though. So it's her cousin and her boyfriend. And she happened to come home early one day and found out they were doing some very, very fucked up shit with underage girls. And so they locked her away in the basement. And she was essentially tortured and psychologically and mentally abused. And Ryan Warden, as he's known, moved into the house next door and eventually pieces together that there's somebody being held in the basement. And then when he goes to find out what's going on, Talon and the guys from the Mother Charter of Hawks are there because they'd found out what they were up to and were trying to stop it. And it's the story of Emerson finding freedom. The person who had been abusive to her and left multiple scars on her body had been a woman. So there's an interesting play where instead of being scared of men, she's scared of women. And she really has to cut past that. And Warden is considerably older than she is, but she is so mature because of everything that she's gone through. And he doesn't know how to deal with that. And she kind of has to push him to be willing to even try to be with her in any way. So you see the level of control Warden tries to exert over himself to prevent himself from being with Emerson, and because he wants her to have a happy life and things, and he doesn't think she would be happy with a man older than her. So he's a good guy, and he's trying to do the good guy thing, and she's like, just shut up and kiss me, you know? So it's a deep story, and it's a very sad story, but it does have the happy ending, and you're so cheering for Emerson by the end of it. Out of all of the novellas, I'd say it's probably one of the deepest. So I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. So the other novellas that I have not gotten to. So I already mentioned in sequential order that I'd already mentioned Breakout in one of the other reviews, that it was meant to be between 2 of the stories. And so the other one that will be left will be Out of the Blue, which is another menage romance, but it is between 3 men, and that is Lan Davis, Parker Wilding, and Easton Ravel. These are all men who have popped up in other stories for the Hawks MC. They've helped out the Hawks MC with issues in the past. They are some of the good guys, and they are helping out Talon and his good guys by covering for them, because even though they're good guys, they're not exactly following every letter of the law. So unfortunately, Breakout, Out of the Blue, I have not read, and the other one that I haven't read is Outgamed, which is the story of Violet and Travis. I'm actually looking forward to reading that one. It's probably going to have to wait until after the new year, just because of the amount of reading I have to do and prep I have to do for other reviews, but you know, hey, that's just part of life. But I didn't want to not reference those, because based off the consistency of writing that I see from Lila Rose, from these stories and from other stories that I've read of hers that are not related to the Hawks MC, I'm going to venture to say they're going to be really well done. You could say it's a step of faith, but it's not really a step of faith. The woman knows what she's doing. And yes, I'm being a fangirl again. Sorry. So I hope you've enjoyed the reviews. I hope that these reviews have helped you decide to try at least one of the books. I am very certain that if you try one of them, you'll probably want to read all of them. And if you are interested in continuing with the series, then don't forget to check back later when I do my reading vlog for Coyote, which will be the first book of the Hawks MC Next Generation series. Look forward to seeing you all at the next review. You have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.